just water? Our origins begin below the ocean's surface. René Quinton discovered the similarities that seawater shared with blood plasma, turning it into a source of health and well-being. Joan-Michel Coll bought the French laboratories in 1996 and moved them to Alicante, where Quinton Laboratories continues to grow and evolve with one main mission: to improve people's health worldwide. Just like water, Quinton remains fluid and adaptable. Because in a world that never slows down, maintaining a healthy balance is key to our well-being. At Quinton, we work every day to achieve that. For this reason, now more than ever, we are committed to scientific development with the same passion we have for taking care of the environment. With a strong foundation in biotechnology, those companies built around people with values are those that establish a true vision for the future. We are diving into this new phase with a different image, investing in R&D and creating new products without straying from our origins. We begin with the original Quinton design and extract it in its purest form, the circumference. From there, a cue is born filled with personality and character. A molecule, a cell, a drop of water, or a point of origin looking to grow, moving tirelessly and dividing to create new life forms. Like Quinton, we've evolved with a more contemporary, solid and efficient brand architecture that works hand in hand with our new strategy and vision for the future. Innovation that gets to the heart of health. We're not just water, we are Quinton.
Hello everyone. At the beginning, I must start with thanking the organizers, especially Ana Moreira, for inviting me. The subject is integrative medicine. We have achieved it finally with quantum science and quantum worldview that says reality is consciousness. Consciousness is the ground of all being and not matter. This immediately gives us the scope of realizing that both matter and non-matter, non-material bodies, can exist in consciousness as possibilities for consciousness to choose from. This is the unique thing about quantum physics. Quantum physics is the physics of possibility. Material objects are possibility, and so can be the objects of life, vital energy, the vitality that we feel. That's the experience, feeling. Material experience is sensing, and then there is the mental experience of thinking. And again, the mental world of possibilities is needed for consciousness to process that one. And finally, what we intuit, those objects are called archetypes. And again, the archetypal world of possibilities for consciousness to choose from. So these four worlds of possibilities plus consciousness itself gives us the full description of the possibilities of consciousness. Consciousness itself gives us the possibility of a subject arising as when possibilities collapse into objects. Consciousness collapses in special tangled hierarchical objects like brain and the living cell to manifest itself as a self. This is in a nutshell the quantum worldview. Medicine can be very different now, because we realize that the material body just gives us hardware. A computer with just hardware is useless to us. We have to have software, right? The software, biology calls it physiology, physiological functions. How did they originate? It's not an evolution of the genes, it's evolution of the function. The evolution is Lamarckian evolution. Rupert Sheldrake, and following him, I have elucidated how that happens and how that creates the living software, the vital software of a human being. And that software constitutes the vital body. Mental software, again, uses the mind as the organizing principle for consciousness to create meaning software. Otherwise, hardware is just symbol. They can make a representation for the meaning. The software does the job. And then human beings can process not only information but also meaning. Finally, new meaning and new vitality, new feelings are necessary to generate health, because the old meanings and old feelings will not always work. Feelings come from movement of biological software. Old software will not work for dealing with new situations, new disease like COVID, or when the software degenerates because of lifestyle, as in chronic disease, then they have to be replaced by better software. That too will require creativity. In this way, the material assumption, the existing physiology is fine, the existing material body with its conditioned software as it already exists is fine. That works only for a bit. It cannot handle disease, neither of the body nor of the vital, mental, all that. In this way, for treating the whole human being, for treating all the situations, we really need an integrative medicine. In this integrative medicine, there will still be scope for separate places for the physical disease experts and the mental disease experts. And I should no longer call disease as disease, but the word disorder is slowly replacing disease in the mental case. And for physical as well, that is not a bad depiction. The reason that we have a disease-centered medicine is, first of all, because we in allopathy depend on evidence to figure out what has to be done. Allopathy has no theory except for the very initial germ theory, and of course hygiene. Those two things are real good theories, good aspect of theory, and that has worked. But when it comes to chronic disease, which is 70 to 75% of all disease today, allopathy has no theory. It just has a general statement. Stress does it. Lifestyle produces stress, and stress produces disease. That's not a theory. That's an observation. And that's all allopathy can do. We have a theory when we can figure out what organ goes wrong, in what way because of stress, and what exactly happens so that we can find the remedy. For that we need a theory, how the organ software works. And this is where biology has to change. It has to change to quantum biology. Many biologists, some, not a whole lot, but some biologists are already invoking quantum in the biological works, and certainly quite admirable work. But usually their assumptions still don't go outside of the materialist assumption. The very important thing that has come into biology are in several scores in recent times. And one of them is the idea that indeed we now have a real understanding, empirical evidence for the fact that we really have to have a science of software. The biologists believe that genes can do everything. They produce the hardware and also the existing software is just wrong. We now have proof, empirical proof that software is epigenetic, not from the genes. The origin is outside of the genes. And then, as the biologist Richard Lewontin has argued, that there is evidence of non-locality in the body. During development, how does the cell know where it is in the body? What the cells do, and they develop the software accordingly. So there must be a non-local connection, communication between cells of the body through non-local consciousness. That's the only explanation, using this organizing field that Rupert Sheldrake discovered. He called them morphogenetic fields. Okay, so morphogenetic fields are the blueprint of software. The mechanism through which it works, how the software becomes conditioned into working again and again, where it is located non-locally, that is into the collective unconscious. These are all contribution of quantum thinking. This is the way we finally have formulated, Valentino Arnisar and I, an integrative quantum medicine, where we give complete theory of software. Now, interestingly, as I said, this concept of heterogeneity is already there in traditional medicine in India, Ayurveda, and traditional medicine in China, traditional Chinese medicine, in the form of qualities called guna and dosha in Ayurveda. Guna are qualities like inertia and two kinds of creativity, situational creativity for solving situational problems and fundamental creativity for solving real change in context. Three gunas, correspondingly, when defects in the gunas, inability to use the gunas arise because of lifestyle, we have the concept of dosha. So notice how the concept of lifestyle producing stress became quantified. Yes, lifestyle producing stress, but how you handle stress depends on how you develop the dosha. Which guna do you predominantly suppress with your dosha? Chinese has only a twofold awareness of this, yin and yang. Yang is conditioning, going on with the existing software. Yin is where the potentialities come from. And there has to be yin-yang balance. So Chinese medicine is all based on yin and yang, and using very cleverly the so-called 5 elements theory. Then that, of course, is a difficult thing to swallow, to make compatible with modern thinking. And so quantum integrative medicine, development of it is a very welcome development, because this 5 elements theory do not need to be invoked anymore in order to understand how the gunas and doshas really work to produce the organ physiology. And when we have a theory of organ physiology, then we can also use the theory to take care of it. In this way, we really now have the makings of a preventive medicine. Medicine does not have to be disease-centered anymore. We can have a health-centered medicine. This is tremendous good news. The details of how Ayurveda work, I'll come to these gunas and doshas in a minute, but the details also depend on something else. This is the concept of chakras. Now, traditional allopathic medicine completely ignores the concept of vital energy, So there is no concept of the chakras. But everybody who is sensitive to feeling, women often are more than men, but men are too. They have sensitivity to the feeling at the navel chakra at least. And many people suffer from disease at the various chakra centers. They are quite sensitive to the fact that there is energy block in those places. For example, if the lowest chakra, called the root chakra, if the energy there is blocked, it's connected with the elimination function of the organs there. Look at the physiological anatomical distribution of the organs. You will see that all the elimination organs are concentrated right around there at the bottom. And if their function goes awry, which means that the software is at fault, it's no longer the movement is producing the kind of feeling that we should have. So we developed a distorted feeling of fear, of risk taking. So constipated people or people who suffer from irritable bowel syndrome, you will find them fearful. They cannot take risk. If this knowledge was only psychological, that would be one thing. But this knowledge is highly useful for correcting it. You know, constipation and irritable bowel syndrome are serious disease because this waste product, when they build up in the body, they can mess up not only the psyche but mess up the physiological functions elsewhere. Toxins in the body. Some of the toxins are eliminated with our food waste, but that is no longer possible if you are constipated. So in this way, Ayurveda emphasizes this excretion of mala, the toxin, from the body. And we have the science now to remove the energy block in the root chakra. This is great development. The latest developments that brought Valentina and I in delving into a huge effort for the past several years to develop this quantum integrative medicine that I am presenting to you is because there have been some new developments. I wrote about the earlier ideas that 5 bodies are needed. We can have a proper understanding of how stress develops by using quantum science, science of the emotions, science of how mind works, giving meaning to our other experiences. All that I wrote in that book, Quantum Doctor. What necessitated the new book? New data came in. I have already shared one piece of data, epigenetics, but there are other pieces of data. The most important piece is about how the chakras work. Now, we always have believed, and I took it for granted as well when I was developing quantum science, that the brain neocortex is the center of our self. And when I developed the theory of the chakras and confronted with the notion that how the feelings are collapsed in each of these chakras, I was a bit puzzled, because a requirement for having a self at a chakra and collapse at a chakra is the existence of a tangled hierarchical system of both cognition and memory ability. So you have to have 2 apparatuses in the list, cognition apparatus and memory apparatus. The chakras have cognition, cognition of feeling. Specific feeling defines each of the chakras. So that part is working. But where is the memory making capacity? This intrigued me. And I was gradually being a little dismayed, but maybe every feeling has only to collapse at the brow chakra, which is the seat of the neocortex. Brow chakra is right here in the middle of the two brows, eyebrows, and right behind it is the prefrontal cortex, and that's where the organ of self. All those assumptions are, of course, I posited in the quantum doctrine itself. But now it has developed, new discoveries have shown, this is the really big news, that there are little brains, big bundles of nerves in both the heart and the navel chakra, and therefore we can easily see that there is memory making capacity as well as capacity for cognition with feeling in both of these chakras, and therefore they too have self. They too have the capacity of collapse. That gives us great new news which has to be incorporated in our medicinal theory. And when we do that, we really get tremendous insight about both the Ayurvedic gunas and doshas, about the mental brain-mind gunas and doshas, so how disease develops, and also about what to do about them and how they normally work in a normal person's health system, in a normal person's physiology. All this we can lay out. And this gives us a very good theory of two situations. One situation is that even though you have a physical disease created by bacteria and viruses or accidents, even then, what allopathic doctors don't realize is that not only the hardware needs to be repaired, but the software also become detached from the hardware. The reason that we have pain in such cases. And then when the hardware is repaired using surgery or antibiotics, whatever may be the case, the software still needs to fit to the hardware. And that requires some repair and attention. So again, vital body medicine is necessary. Recovery is a complex process, as we are finding out in dealing with COVID. Many people complain about long time it takes to recover because nobody is paying attention to the software. People are not knowledgeable enough to seek out the alternative medicine doctor who could help. But if you are watching this conference, then let me tell you, we have the complete science for how to work with Ayurveda and traditional Chinese and mind-body medicine to effect this software readjustment recovery. So this is the first thing. And the second thing is, sometimes the disease occurs because the software itself becomes faulty. This is the case of chronic disease. And as I said, chronic diseases are by far the more frequent component of human health. Therefore, this is also great news. And now that we understand that there are two centers of experience in the body itself, we can use that knowledge to our additional advantage. One thing I need to say outright, which is that the brain does take over the control of the body organs and at the chakras, and therefore the brain can never be ignored. But the whole point is that we don't have to succumb It's not a mechanical situation. We, after all, are the boss. How we deal with the brain-body connection determines what effect the brain will have. And this is very important to recognize. Brain gives up certain very low-level basic characteristics for ourselves, and it is these characteristics that we use to develop bad habits, bad lifestyle. And by knowing how the body works, that we have independent, potentially independent centers of experience in the body is greatly helpful in preventing the basic cause of disorder, lifestyle. So in this way, the new developments that has taken place, the real new developments which you don't find in the media, which is sold to the materialist concepts, they think chakra is all hocus pocus, but this is where a really substantial important development of medicine has occurred in the last 10 years or so. So, let me begin with child development and tell you how it should work and what produces the dosha that it doesn't work, the vital doshas first and then the mental doshas. The child is born and we say that it has that consciousness as the ground of being, that universality, that unity in itself quite a bit. We call it the quantum self. The first 6 months, mind hardly exists for a child. Mental apparatus is not quite ready yet, the memory apparatus. It takes about a year to develop the beginning of a mental ego. Therefore, a child is much like your pet, processing things with feeling. And of course, there are the negative emotional centers in the brain. At the amygdala, they play a role. Pleasure centers too in the midbrain, they play a role. But quantum self, feelings at the chakras, pretty independent of the mind because mind is not there yet. Brain cannot take control without the mind. So, we have a pretty good situation. And we can take advantage of it. So, if we are aware, then of course the child would develop certain characteristics early on, and one of these characteristics can be an awareness of the other relationship. This relationship is built into our ability called altruism. Everybody knows that we have this as a characteristic. Materialist science see altruism in the brain in the form of mirror neurons. We have the capacity of mirroring the experience of another, but that's not all of it. It's by far much more than that. Altruism is a universal software available to us from the collective unconscious, and with the help of the quantum self, all children can be taught about it. This leads to moral development, and very important of development of the heart chakra. What happens there? See, normally the heart chakra has the important system, immune system, and that dominates, especially in the childhood in the form of the thymus gland, a heart chakra organ. So what happens? Thymus glands function to distinguish between me and not me. So that defensiveness is our normal built-in condition. But what happens in childhood is that the quantum self, that unity with the other, that too dominates the child's experience, and therefore this defensiveness is not there much. Why? Why? You have to ask this question. And quantum science has an answer. So I postulated in the quantum doctrine that immune system does not function with defensiveness and is suspended. That is when we find that we have love in the heart. I could not give any other reason except, of course, to say that this is what we call opening of the heart chakra. But why the heart opens, why the heart develops a new feeling of love, I did not have a clear notion of that. The HeartMath Institute solved this problem by showing that for loving people, the heart on the average begins to vibrate, oscillate in a coherent manner. The different parts of the heart becomes coherent. Heart is just a pump, but now it is moving coherently. Coherence can only come from quantum movement. This is monumental new information. Heart becomes coherent when the immune system is suspended. When we have love, we do not distinguish between you and me, but include you in my consciousness, that I feel as the expansion that we find always when we love. Inclusivity. And that is what makes love so important in healing, that we are finding out. In COVID, in cancer, love can do miracles. So this love, other love, takes little quantum leaps in the childhood to activate the circuits of altruism. But suppose parental neglect or something, trauma, eliminates this possibility, and then there will be a deficiency. This is what produces a dosha. This dosha is called pitta dosha in Ayurveda. This proper understanding of pitta is very important to understand immune deficiency, because the immune system now will not get proper rest. This is what happens when we love. Immune system is suspended, like sleep of the brain. Immune system is not getting that, and then that's what produces immune system malfunction. Sometimes it will produce cancer, it will not kill off cancerous cells. Other times it will produce this extra inflammation, inflammatory molecules, a kind of toxin in the body. This inflammation molecules is a real problem with health and can produce all kinds of disease. Disease of the thickening of the arteries, the cholesterol accumulation, disease of even Alzheimer, the deposits that eventually produce this coating of beta amyloid protein on the neurons, on the memory cells, so that the person cannot remember anymore. So if we can prevent that, and love can prevent that, that would be great contribution of our understanding of chakra science and preventive medicine. Also, what Ayurveda has been calling pitta dosha. Can pitta dosha occur in other places besides the heart and producing these inflammation molecules? Yes, in another place, another candidate would be the navel chakra, obviously. And there, again, our lifestyle, constant eating, eat, because it's pleasurable. Or when we diet, just fast, but no moderation. So what happens is that the stomach does not get rest in a regular way. Either it gets irregular rest, we are dieting, fasting in an irregular way, or we are never giving it a rest. Because if we eat constantly, food sits there a while, so stomach never rests. Malfunction. If we give it a rest, then is there an organ that becomes quantum? We suspect that yes, pancreas becomes quantum, and when it becomes quantum, its insulin production is done by a higher physiology, better controlled. So the sugar imbalance will just not take place. But if you don't have that, if you are messing up your eating regularity, not giving the stomach its needed rest in a regular way, there will be malfunction, and that malfunction is what produces type 2 diabetes in adults. Easily preventable now that we understand. What is good is something like the 16-8 diet plan. You starve for 16 hours and then you eat all you want to at whatever intervals for 8 hours, but no more. The stomach is bound to get some rest in that 16 hours of rest. In this way, there will be no pitta dosha, and the other two doshas, which are in Ayurveda called vata dosha, kind of hyperactivity of the vital energy. Hyperactivity could be easily prevented by making little adjustments, but that's the capacity we lose. That's the capacity of situational creativity, a guna. You see, but we lose that. That's the dosha. And that brings in little problems. But those little problems are not so little. They are very important for maintenance of the body. It's built into the body, so when the yin and yang, this characteristic of these gunas, the situational creativity guna and the inertia, they work in a balanced way, then it's an automatic process. But when we don't have that balance, when it becomes yin-yang imbalance, as the Chinese call it very elegantly, and they have been saying that for 2000 years, then we have disease. And this is the concept of wellness. Wellness depends on yin-yang balance. Wellness depends on moderating these doshas and letting the vital situational creativity in action along with inertia as needed. Then is what we have is simple healing intention will keep our body healthy. This is the basis of preventive medicine. First of all, don't allow the pitta to develop. Keep the creativity or fundamental creativity completely intact. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, okay, if pitta did not develop, then in addition, keep the yin-yang balance. The vital body has all the necessary information, all the necessary software adjustments that the vital body has to make. Because we all in our childhood go through various situations. Situation is never the same. That's the way our environment is. There will be fluctuation in temperature, fluctuations in humidity, and all these situations, the body will automatically develop software adjustments. And that is good. And then as needed, consciousness can choose the software adjustment, and in this way keep us healthy. But when we lose that intention to heal, there is problem. That's when disease occurs. That is also important to note, and important to note the role of placebo healing. Recently we have found out that all healing, even by pharmaceutical medicine, 70% placebo. And this is good thing to find out. So 70% of disease development can be prevented by simply not allowing the healing intention ever slip away from us. This is fundamentally important. When it does slip away, however, the evidence suggests that simple assurance by a qualified healer, a medical doctor in the conventional medicine does fine if the patient has belief, trust, and then placebo effect is usually interpreted as the faith of the patient in the doctor, but of course it is a little more complex than that. It is the restoration of the intention of healing on the part of the patient. That is important. If the patient is not restored in terms of that healing intention, then placebo is hopeless. Then mind will take over. Mind will continue to produce imbalance in the vital energies by giving wrong meaning to a given situation. Mind-body medicine. And then we have to talk about mind-body doshas. The dosha of fundamental, that suppresses fundamental creativity in the case of the mind, is suppressing emotions. Dosha of suppressing the situational creativity will be realized as mental hyperactivity, inattention, attention deficit. These people will be hyperactive, do, and a lifestyle will produce heart disease. A suppressive lifestyle will produce both heart disease and cancer. So, this story is beautiful because by knowing all this, we now can prevent all the major disease. I talked about 3 major diseases already: diabetes type 2, cancer, heart disease, and Alzheimer's, brain disease. And detailed considerations will show you that it works for all disease. And then in the subject of healing as well, my collaborator Valentino Arnisor will talk about quantum healing, so I won't touch much of that subject. But overall, one more thing I'll mention, which is the idea of preventive medicine. The best thing when you have a theory along with empirical data to help you, best thing is that knowing the theory, you can already take preventive steps to correct the software. Software does not have to deteriorate in the first place. We know what lifestyle not to use. For example, stress is reduced by meditation. Balances the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Slowing things down, it also prevents aging considerably. Those toxins that I was talking about, the inflammatory molecules, do you know that they have a major effect on our aging as well? So if we learn to eliminate that lifestyle that brings about inflammation and replace it by love, a better physiology, then even aging process can become gentle. In this way, quantum science is contributing to a new gerontology, where we'll be able to really provide quality lifestyle for the elderly. This is more good news. Time ran out on me, so I cannot give you more good news, but my collaborator is bringing you a lot more in the form of quantum healing and related concepts like positive health. Thank you.